Hi, my name is BroxtonDavis, and when I was thinking about what I wanted to speak about today, I was trying to think of something that I've done that maybe a lot of you haven't done. So, first thing, obviously, that sets me apart, I think, is the fact that I'm married. I don't believe anyone else in here is. So, today I kind of want to talk about maybe kind of what went into our wedding process and maybe any tips or tricks I can share with you guys on when it comes time to plan a wedding if you see that in your future. So, the first thing would be, where can you get your sources? A lot of magazine companies put out product such as The Knot, Wedding Planning for Dummies. A lot of TV shows do a lot of things around weddings, such as Bride Day Friday on TLC. But one of the most popular ones is obviously Pinterest, and that's the one my wife used a lot. There's a lot of good resources, a lot of people who have done it themselves and kind of share their tips. So you can, it's a big community that you can obviously pull from for ideas. Obviously, one of the first steps in, I guess, planning a wedding is getting engaged. This is obviously a picture from when I proposed. It's actually the same location that we got married. So guys, try to be as romantic as possible, if you can be. So the wedding industry is obviously a big industry. It's a booming thing with lots of vendors catering to couples. Last year, the average wedding in 2015 cost $26,600. That's quite a bit. That's not even close to what we spent on ours, but it's a big, obviously booming industry. A lot of caterers, a lot of planners that you can get hooked up with to help you plan this big day in your guys' lives. So obviously the number of U.S. weddings has decreased a little bit since the mid 80s. In 2010 it was 2.1 million. A lot of things could factor into that. Maybe just more independent people nowadays, and our society seems to be very independent driven. So something to play into it. A lot of different people who you may turn to for help as far as planning your wedding have different budget breakdowns, and ultimately the money's got to be there in order to spend it. So just having maybe some guidelines, even if they're rough guidelines, or they can be obviously be moved around. And I would encourage you to be as flexible as possible as far as this pie chart goes. But this kind of just gives you an idea of maybe some of the things that go into planning a wedding that you maybe not weren't thinking of. A lot of places where couples save money is doing their own things as far as wedding favors or decorations, which is something we obviously tried to commit to as much as possible. Just finding ideas on Pinterest or whether it's those magazines on ways that we could save on our budget and maybe create something that guests like and also has a personal touch. Some advice I'd give to brides, especially, is don't let your want for perfection become procrastination. So a lot of times people have been planning this their whole lives and they think about what they want, and even though it's a good idea to have what you want, maybe settling for something that's not as good, maybe to save money or because logistically you can't do your first option, is always an option and something that should be considered. And obviously, guys, when it comes to your lady or your spouse making these decisions, you want to be cognizant of how much they have going on. They have this and that, so you nagging on one little piece of the reception or the ceremony can really just bend them out of, gets anyone upset. So just being cognizant of what's going on will go a long way for you and your guys' relationship while planning. So obviously these are pictures from our wedding, from our reception now, and you can see we have very very simple centerpieces. They were just gold spray painted bottles with some flowers. We had table numbers, and then our favors were actually pill bottles that had little mints in them from Davis Drugs. So it was cool to kind of be able to tie in my pharmacy. We had some things that tied in her teaching, so it was cool to be able to work on those together. Something also you can call on is family members. Her aunt makes cakes, so her wedding gift to us was our wedding cake along with the cake for the guests, providing that. So it's neat to be able to use your family's specialties to kind of help you on your special day. It just makes it much more personal. So obviously something will go wrong on your wedding day, no matter how much you don't think it will or you plan for it not to. Something will happen. Obviously, you can see from our ceremony that it's an outdoor venue. So you can maybe imagine some of the downfalls that could happen depending on the day. And one of those actually did happen. It rained, but thankfully it rained about 10 seconds after we kissed at the very end. Mario says it's one of the coolest things he's ever seen. Just as soon as we kissed, it started raining. As you can see, I left my new bride out on the stairs as I ran to cover. So always having a plan B, no matter what you might have going on, is always a good rule of practice. Just because you never know what that day is going to entail, and there's so much going on. So obviously, this is a picture of the outside of our reception, which was our plan B for if the ceremony got rained out. Luckily, it held off until we were done, so everyone just kind of hustled over to our reception area while it did rain. So it was kind of hectic on the day of when you see the forecast, but having those plan Bs can save you a lot of headache and a lot of frustration later on. Something also to consider is honeymoons. Obviously, not a lot of people put this into their budget. They kind of plan out their budget and allocate their funds appropriately, but then, and it's mostly the groom, honestly, this is to the guys, but you almost forget about the honeymoon and the financial aspect that can go into that, which is obviously very expensive. But we were lucky with my grandparents having a timeshare, so they offered us, a week wherever we could go, and obviously I jumped on that, being free as far as the booking goes. So we went to Jamaica. This is an aerial view of the Grand Palladium, which is where we stayed. It was an all-inclusive resort, so that was awesome. We were able to save money through that. You can see here the pool, and then obviously in Jamaica, all they drink is Red Stripe and Bud Light, but mostly Red Stripe. And then on the right is a Bob Marley, which is, I don't even know, it's just a bunch of rum. They put rum in everything down in Jamaica, so it was cool to be able to go down there and just relax after, planning this wedding. We were engaged for 3 years, so we've been working on it for a while. So it was a great week to get away and kind of just relax and kind of unwind. This is a cool photo I threw up there. This was actually at the Jimmy Buffett restaurant in Montego Bay, Jamaica, and at the airport. Everyone had their colleges written up, and I was looking while we were sitting there waiting for our food, waiting for our flight for a Purdue one. So I eventually found one, so I had to take a picture of it. Figured I'd throw it in here because you never know where you're going to go and you see a Boilermaker. And this next picture is just kind of for the guys, or maybe you're not the one planning it. Maybe ladies, he wants to plan it. Just a lot of times as the guy, you're along for the ride. So learning to say yes, dear, that sounds great, and adding that to your vocabulary will definitely help you in the long run. And just being able to go with the flow and almost follow her blindly is great. So that's kind of what I got. Obviously, like I said, something's going to go wrong, but just remembering it's a special day, and at the end of the day, you're going to end up married to, the woman or the man of your dreams. So just being able to celebrate with friends and family is always a great end product to have in mind, and just enjoy the day, no matter how stressful it may be.